There was a blast at a restaurant in China's northern province of Hebei this morning. A gas leak is suspected to be the cause. At least 2 people were killed and 22 were injured. Videos show a fireball over the site, followed by grey smoke rising from the building. The explosion ripped facades from buildings and damaged nearby cars. China has criticized Taiwan over its handling of a ship collision incident a month ago. Beijing is now demanding an apology and an explanation from Taipei. The incident occurred almost a month ago and led to the death of 2 Chinese fishermen. They drowned while being chased by Taiwan's Coast Guard. Taiwan had accused the fishermen of trespassing. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke with his British counterpart Rishi Sunak yesterday. The 2 leaders assessed the progress made in ongoing negotiations over a free trade agreement. They spoke about bilateral ties and regional and global developments. They also exchanged greetings for the upcoming festival of Holi. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that his army will press forward with its military campaign into Rafah. This is despite rising international pressure against Israel to control civilian deaths in the region. Rafah is one of the last relatively safe areas in Gaza. 1.5 million Palestinians have sought shelter in Rafah. Netanyahu claims that his forces have taken measures to minimize civilian casualties. However, more than 31,000 Palestinians have already been killed in the region so far. A ship carrying 200 tons of aid for Gaza left Cyprus yesterday. It's part of a pilot project that seeks to open a sea route into Gaza to help stave off a potential famine in the war-hit region. The charity ship Open Arms is carrying flour, rice and protein. It sailed out of the port of Larnaca. The 200-mile journey to Gaza could take as long as 2 days. Late Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny's longtime aide, Leonid Volkov, has been attacked. This took place in Lithuania yesterday. A former spokesperson for Navalny said that Volkov was attacked outside his house. She said that someone broke his car window and sprayed tear gas in his eyes. After this, the attacker started hitting Volkov with a hammer. The Lithuanian police say they are investigating the attack. Dozens of Russian fighters who are anti-Kremlin claim to have launched an incursion into the country. The militants said that they entered Russia's Kursk and Belgorod regions with tanks, armored vehicles. Ukraine said that the groups were acting independently. Meanwhile, Russia claimed that the cross-border attacks were repelled. The attacks come just days ahead of Russia's presidential election. Meanwhile, Russian missiles hit 2 apartment buildings in the central Ukrainian city of Kryvyi Rih yesterday. At least 3 people were killed and about 38 were injured. 10 children were among the injured. Rescue teams sifted through rubble in a nighttime search for survivors. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who was born and raised in Kryvyi Rih, offered condolences to the people hurt in the attack. Polish President Andrzej Duda was in Washington, D.C. yesterday. He met with U.S. President Joe Biden to discuss Poland's security situation amid escalations in the Russia-Ukraine war. Concerns have risen that Russian President Vladimir Putin may escalate his military operations beyond Ukraine. However, Biden assured Duda of America's quote-unquote ironclad commitment to Poland. A man hijacked a bus and shot 2 people in Brazil's Rio de Janeiro yesterday. The bus was waiting at the station platform when the suspect broke into it. He held about 17 people hostage for 3 hours before turning himself over to the police. Sudan's army chief said that it had taken control of the national broadcaster in the city of Omdurman. This marks the army's most significant advance against its rival, the paramilitary group called the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. The national broadcaster's complex was seized by the RSF last year in the early days of the Sudan war. However, the RSF has not commented on the army's claims. Kenya's government has said that it is pausing the deployment of its police officials to Haiti. This comes after Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry resigned yesterday. Earlier this month, Henry and Kenyan President William Ruto signed an agreement for the deployment of the officers. However, the recent decision leaves the security situation in Haiti in serious doubt as armed gangs continue with their violence. In climate news, a severe storm brought heavy rainfall to the Buenos Aires province in eastern Argentina. This caused significant flooding in the region. Residents were forced to wade through waist-high floodwaters. Meanwhile, vehicles were seen partially submerged. Two skiers from New Zealand have died in Japan. This is after an avalanche hit Hokkaido Island in the country's north. The third skier, who was also from New Zealand, was injured in the incident. The avalanche had buried 6 people in total. The local media reported that no avalanche warning was issued for the area. The city of Bengaluru in India's Karnataka state has been facing a severe water crisis. Around 7,000 borewells and several lakes have dried up across the city. This has forced many residents to flee Bengaluru. Bengaluru needs around 2,800 million tons of water every day. However, the depletion of groundwater resources has cut that supply by half. Meanwhile, India's coal-fired electricity generation reached a new high in January. This is according to data from an energy think tank called Ember. In January, India's coal-powered electricity output increased by 10% compared to last year. The coal-based power generation also emitted a record 105 million metric tons of carbon dioxide in January. Coal emissions are one of the major causes of global warming and climate change. The UK, Germany, the Netherlands, Norway and Denmark have failed to align to eco-friendly oil and gas policies. This is according to a US-based campaign group called Oil Change International. It says that the 5 countries promised to move away from fossil fuels under the Paris Agreement in 2015. However, they have not made enough efforts to stop drilling oil and gas fields. Members of indigenous communities marched in Ecuador's capital city, Quito, yesterday. They were protesting against the use of gas flares by oil producers in the Amazon rainforest. Gas flaring is the process of burning off the natural gas associated with oil extraction. Indigenous people argue that gas flares negatively affect their health and the environment. An Ecuadorian court had already ordered a halt to the use of gas flares in 2021. The Swedish police detained climate activist Greta Thunberg yesterday. This comes after Thunberg and several other climate activists had been protesting outside Sweden's parliament for 2 days. They had blocked access to two entrances of the parliament building. The protesters were seeking government action to contain the impacts of climate change. A South Africa-based NGO called African Parks has said that around 2,000 white rhinos will return to their natural habitat in the country's northwest province. The NGO says that the move could boost the world's white rhino population by 15%. The aim is to rewild about 200 rhinos every year over the next 10 years. On to business and tech news. In the US, consumer prices rose for the second straight month in February. Data from the US Labor Department showed that the consumer prices rose by 0.4% last month. The biggest contributors to this price rise were gasoline and rents, contributing more than 60% to the total inflation numbers. The food prices largely remained unchanged in February. Meanwhile, India has also reported its inflation data for February. India's inflation rate slightly eased to 5.09% last month. The prices of clothing, housing and transport eased marginally. However, data showed an uptick in food prices. This was largely driven by the cost of meat and vegetables. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi laid the foundation stone of 3 semiconductor projects in the country today. These projects are collectively worth over $15 billion. The projects include India's first chip fabrication plant being built by the Tata Group in the coastal state of Gujarat. 2 other facilities are for semiconductor assembly and testing, one in Gujarat, while the other is being set up in the state of Assam. Walmex, the Mexican arm of retail giant Walmart, will invest over $2 billion this year. As per the firm, 45% of this investment will be used in remodeling and maintenance work at its existing stores. The rest of the funds will be deployed to expand Walmex's e-commerce and supply chain business. Data center operator Equinix has appointed Andre Fox as its new CEO. Fox Martin currently heads Google's cloud unit. Her role at Google will end in the second quarter this year. She will succeed Equinix's current CEO, Charles Myers. US tech giant IBM is reportedly laying off employees in its marketing and communications divisions. Employees were informed regarding the job cuts in a meeting yesterday. However, the number of impacted employees has not been revealed as of now. Last year, IBM said that it's seeking to replace nearly 8,000 jobs with artificial intelligence. The US House of Representatives will vote on a bill that can potentially ban the social media platform TikTok across the US. The bill will give TikTok's Chinese owner ByteDance about 6 months to sell the short video app. TikTok faces a potential ban if the company fails to do so. Apple is making a significant change for its users in the European Union. It'll allow app developers to sell apps through their own websites or online marketplaces. The move comes after the EU implemented a law called the Digital Markets Act. The Digital Markets Act aims to create a level playing field for tech firms in the region. Google is restricting its artificial intelligence chatbot Gemini when it comes to answering questions about global elections. The firm has said that the move aims to avoid potential missteps in the deployment of the AI model. This comes amid concerns over the use of generative AI to spread misinformation and influence public opinion. Elections are set to be held in several large countries this year, including the US, India, and South Africa. Japan's first private sector rocket launch attempt failed today. This was after the Tokyo-based startup Space One's rocket Kairos exploded seconds after takeoff. The reason for the rocket explosion is not known. The rocket was carrying an experimental government satellite. Moving to sports. In cricket, a report says Indian ace batter Virat Kohli may not be playing in the T20 World Cup. India's cricket board is likely to drop him from the squad. The report states that the selectors believe Kohli hasn't been at his best in the T20 format. The preliminary squads for the T20 World Cup are slated to be submitted in May. Indian batter Yashasvi Jaiswal won the ICC Player of the Month for February yesterday. He attained the title following his prolific run in the India-England Test Series. The 22-year-old batting sensation notched up 712 runs across 5 matches. Jaiswal smashed 2 double hundreds and 3 half-centuries in the series. In football, Barcelona are through to the quarter-final of the Champions League. They beat Napoli 3-1 yesterday to reach the last stage of the competition. Fermin Lopez and Joao Cancelo gave Barca a 2-0 lead. Napoli pulled one back through Amir Rahmani before Robert Lewandowski wrapped it up for Barca with a late goal. Arsenal beat Porto 4-2 on penalties to reach the Champions League quarter-final. The Gunners won the second leg 1-0 through a goal from Leandro Trossard. Porto had already won the first leg 1-0. The round of 16 tie went to a penalty shootout where Arsenal won 4-2. Saudi Pro League club Al Hilal set a new world record yesterday. They now hold the title for most consecutive wins by a top-tier team. Yesterday's 2-0 win over Al Ittihad in the Asian Champions League marked their 28th win in a row. Al Hilal now have won every game since a 1-all draw with Damak on the 21st of September. In tennis, men's world number 2, Carlos Alcaraz, continued his title defense at Indian Wells. The Spaniard reached the quarterfinal by beating Hungary's Fabian Marosan 6-3, 6-3. Alcaraz next faces 6th seed Alexander Zverev of Germany. Men's world number 3, Yannick Sinner of Italy, continued his stellar form. He overcame American Ben Shelton 7-6, 6-1 to reach the Indian Wells quarterfinal. With that, the Italian also earned his 150th hard-court win across tournaments. The win also resulted in Sinner improving his perfect record in 2024 to 15-0. In badminton, Indian ace shuttler PV Sindhu reached the second round of the All England Open. Her opponent, Yvonne Lee of Germany, retired hurt mid-match yesterday. Sindhu won the first set 21-10 before her opponent withdrew due to a knee injury. Meanwhile, it was heartbreak for Indian shuttler H.S. Pranoy at the event. He suffered a shock loss at the hands of world number 32, Su Liyang, in the men's singles. Pranoy started off with a 21-14 win in the first set, but the Indian went on to lose the subsequent sets 13-21, 13-21 to his opponent from Chinese Taipei. Peru's capital Lima will be hosting the 2027 Pan American Games. This was decided following a vote that ruled out Paraguayan capital Asunción's bid. The Peruvian capital was chosen by 28 votes out of 52 to host the event. This will be the second time that the Pan American Games will be held in Lima after 2019. In entertainment news, Meghan Markle won a defamation case brought against her. The lawsuit was filed by her half-sister Samantha Markle. Samantha accused Meghan of using disparaging words and spreading lies during an interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2021. However, the court said that the statements brought by Samantha did not amount to defamation. A Romanian court has approved a request from Britain to extradite the controversial influencer Andrew Tate. He was arrested in Romania on Monday over allegations of sexual aggression. Tate will be extradited to the UK only when the Romanian trial proceedings finish. The 37-year-old was indicted in Romania in June last year in a separate case of human trafficking and rape. American actor Kristen Stewart has responded to criticism over her recent cover photo for the Rolling Stones magazine. She called the critics sexist and homophobic. Stewart turned heads when she posed in a jockstrap for the magazine's February edition. This was in line with the promotion of her next queer romance thriller, Love Lies Bleeding. The K-pop girl band Blackpink's hit song, How You Like That, has surpassed 1 billion streams on Spotify. This is the first time the girl band has achieved such a historic milestone. Previously, Blackpink member Lisa's song Money became the first K-pop solo track to reach 1 billion Spotify streams. American rapper Ye, who was previously known as Kanye West, has returned to the top of the Billboard Hot 100 list with his new song, Carnival. His last #1 Billboard song was E.T. with Katy Perry in 2011. Ye also became the only rapper to have topped the Hot 100 in 3 separate decades. His first song on the list was Slow Jams in 2004. British singer Ed Sheeran recently visited a school in the Indian city of Mumbai. He performed his song Shape of You on guitar for the students. Sheeran also posted a video of his interaction with the students on social media. This comes ahead of his concert in Mumbai on the 16th of March. Writer-producer Bo DeMaio has been fired ahead of the premiere of X-Men 97. Reports say DeMaio completed 2 seasons of the animated Marvel series before his exit. The show is a continuation of the popular X-Men the Animated Series. The series is scheduled to debut on Disney Plus on the 20th of March. The third installment of the Venom franchise has a new title and an early release date. Venom 3 has been rebranded Venom: The Lost Dance. Meanwhile, the movie's release date has been changed to the 25th of October. It was earlier scheduled to release in November. Filmmaker Ari Aster has assembled a star-packed cast for his next film, Eddington. The cast includes actors Emma Stone, Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal and Austin Butler. The plot of the film will focus on a small-town police officer with lofty aspirations. The film is yet to get a release date. Former American actor Jake Lloyd has been admitted to a mental health rehabilitation facility. The 35-year-old starred in the Star Wars franchise as a child actor. According to Lloyd's mother, he had a breakdown in March last year. The former actor was earlier diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia.
From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.